Unbelievable. Forgot about that. You can't see it, but my
Welcome to Kidmin Backstage,
Hey,
place where we talk about kids ministry and take a peek behind the scenes. We try to share a little bit of what we've learned that works for us and some of our failures so you can avoid them. We release a new episode every Friday, and this is your Backstage Pass to see the magic or disaster that happens behind the scenes of our kids ministry. I'm your host, Gabe Baker. And today, as you can probably tell already, I am joined by the famous Aneisha and Shaylee. Welcome.
We are back.
Thank you for having us, sir.
Thank you.
I say this often, but back by demand. I was traveling recently, and you guys were mentioned yet again on the podcast.
We'll go with you on your next trip.
Yeah.
And
It's
shake
a business
hands.
trip.
We'll shake
It's a
hands.
business trip. It's a tax write-off. Yeah. We'll give autographs.
Give out autographs.
Hello. I've heard a lot about you.
Everyone's like, who are they?
Yeah, no one knows.
They are so annoying.
Okay, well, what are we talking about today?
Oh,
Let me read it for
boy.
the first time. In the Pursuit.
In the Pursuit. I love how you
That's the title.
qualified that as this was the first time reading it. In the Pursuit.
Oh, that is what we're talking about. Oh, okay.
So I kind of had this idea, and we've talked about some of this similar things before in the podcast, but so in today's culture, even like especially in the secular culture, but even in church culture, we tend to obsess over destinations like the promotion, the milestone, and then like in ministry, we can obsess over like attendance. How many do we have in church? How many do we have in Sunday school? Or even, and this, I'm not negative on this, but even, well, how many received the Holy Ghost?
Yeah.
And it is about that, and that's a goal, and we love that and everything, but it's not just about that. We can have, today we had awesome altar service. Nobody got the Holy Ghost that I know of for the first time. Nobody got the Holy Ghost in our altar service in Sunday school. But it was a really good altar service, and people were breaking through and making, I think, spiritual progress. So anyway, I feel like the most effective, and I put ministers and I put it in quotes, and what I mean by that, I'm not talking about that we're preachers or anything like that at all. Although Aneisha and Shaylee might differ in opinion there. But I mean that we are working in ministry and working like in Sunday school. So we know that true success and fulfillment so that you don't get burned out comes from more than just reaching the goal, but being engaged in the journey, in the process. Mm-hmm. Which I think that's like what we've talked about is the process,
Yeah.
And I like how you said people making spiritual progress.
Yes.
I think that people sometimes don't put enough weight on they again think about the milestone and
right.
even a weight goal or something like that, and you look at you're not there yet, but the progress, look at the progress. And I think that people forget about that, the spiritual progress.
I think so too. Yes.
The kids. Even if they didn't get the Holy Ghost for the first time in the altar service, the fact that they were in there praying hard or whatever,
Yes.
and putting in effort is progress, and they're making the spiritual progress.
Right. Yeah, I think there's a couple reasons. Probably one is milestones are easier, to point at.
Right.
And so that's one reason we gravitate toward that. But yeah, I think like you said about weight or something or working out, it is a lot easier to point at. Your dad, Pastor Burgess in the pulpit mentioned, it was hilarious. What did he say? Something about, I went to the treadmill like four times in the last 4
weeks
or something. And
Yeah, the last 4 weeks.
Yeah.
It didn't make a different impact on my abs.
Yes,
so I quit going.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and obviously that's probably not true, but that is how some people approach it, And so I think like what you said about the weight on the importance of that. The next paragraph I put, when we approach our work or our ministry half-heartedly, but simply go through the motions, because we're like, okay, we're going to reach that goal, but we approach today half-heartedly. Like John C. Maxwell has a really good book called Today Matters. And so when we don't think of it like today, this Sunday matters, not, the end of the year or far off or a conference or something like that. It's today that matters. And so if we approach it like that, instead of, so often if we don't see the importance of that, we approach it half-heartedly, and then that leads to burnout, boredom, and just not being interested in like, really do we have to do this today? And so, but when we commit ourselves, when we're all in, we actually, the routine can actually become interesting, and we get interested in doing what we're, supposed to do every single Sunday.
Yeah. Interested in what you're doing rather than just the stats or something.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And I've been guilty of it. I've been guilty of doing that before, where it's like, well, here's a disaster right behind the scenes. One of the things is like in transition, when we're between themes, we put a lot of weight on our themes, and I think rightly so. But we put a lot of weight on our themes. We're theme kind of driven, I guess. I mean, Holy Ghost driven, but we do themes. And so when we're in transition, we don't have any themes. It can be easy. I'm guilty of recycling scripts, and not that is necessarily bad, because it's usually from over a year ago. The kids don't remember, but it can be easy to just kind of, okay, let's just get this Sunday over with,
right?
And not say, okay, today, this Sunday makes a difference.
Or like, say you like your numbers are just like, say we didn't have our bus ministry for a week.
Yeah.
And we're down 20 kids.
Yes.
And so now we only have however many kids. And it's like, we don't have guests. So like, let's just get this out of the way. And then next week we'll have, or you have lower attendance in general. And then you're like, oh, let me just get this out of the way. Yeah. And then next week we'll actually try, because there's more or whatever. Yeah.
And yes, so much. And that is a key. And I admit that I struggle with it sometimes, but that today makes a difference. Today matters. And it's so much easier there's like a statistic about, I'm going to butcher this, but it's something like we overestimate, it's something like this. We overestimate what we can do in 5 years. We're like, oh man, I could become a millionaire in 5 years, or whatever. We overestimate what we can do in 5 years, but we underestimate what we can do in 1 year or, a shorter amount of time. We underestimate that. And so it's kind of interesting, the power of today. So our first point here is, we kind of stomped all over it already, but presence transforms performance. That's a cool title. We should have called it that, huh? Presence transforms.
He's acting like he didn't write this.
So
we actually wrote it this week, everyone.
So, Shaylee, I know you can't see that there's even an iPad there, but it's on there. So being fully present and fully, there, engaged, every Sunday doesn't just make the journey more enjoyable, but it fundamentally transforms the quality of your ministry and leadership.
And impacts the people around you.
Yes. When you're fully engaged, it makes a difference. People can feel it. The kids can feel it.
Yeah.
And the staff, I think, can feel it. Like, I think that, now, sometimes stuff it falls apart just because that happens. But I think that a lot of times things fall apart because of that. It's like a snowball. A snowball effect, right? Yeah. And so you it's kind of like, have you ever, I'm sure you guys are never late for anything, but have you ever woke up late to get to work or whatever, and then just the whole day it seems like you're scrambling like the rest of the day? And so I think it's almost like that. If you're not engaged and you're not fully present, and then And then it's like playing catch up when you try to get engaged. Like it comes to altar service and it's like, oh, whoa, God's moving. Yeah. Hold on, let me get on board. Let me catch up to the kids. And so, it transforms the quality of what we do, and then kind of hand in hand with that, mindful engagement enhances the quality. So when you're completely engaged, you notice things that others miss, and then you engage more deeply with the tasks that you're doing. It's kind of like, if you're really experienced, you can do tasks and kind of they go fine. It's like driving. You've been driving for a long time. Sometimes you drive and it's almost subconscious and you're like, where am I? Oh man, I just drove 3 miles. I didn't even pay attention to what, exits I passed.
I didn't look up for my phone once.
Yeah, hopefully not that. But and so whereas if you're more engaged, you're more aware and everything. And so I don't know if that's the best analogy, but I think in Sunday school, I know that I've talked about this before. I've been doing this kind of thing long enough that I can rush on stage last minute and do some kind of lesson. Last minute, no preparation, and it go okay. It'd go fairly well, and nobody would probably even know the difference. But if you couple that experience with preparation and coming back to this, being fully engaged and fully into it, there's power behind it.
I think that's how it is for a lot of things. Like you can have, this goes into so many just things in life, but even just like if there's like a person who's playing a sport and they could be really good and it goes good, but when they lock in and when they engage, yes, they're unstoppable. Or like a musician, and they can play really good. Like Adrian can play really good, I'm sure not even thinking about it. And then, but the second that he locks in, it's like blows your mind.
Yes.
And so, or singers can sing really good, but then you see them focus and it's like, whoa.
Yeah, it takes it to another level.
Yeah, it takes it to another level. And they can get by with not trying.
It's kind of like this analogy reminds me of your eye on the ball. You guys have heard that, right? Keep your eye on the ball. Well, I remember Pastor Burgess and I used to play racquetball all the time back when we were like in shape and stuff. Back before when he went to the gym more than 4 times in 4 weeks.
To walk on the treadmill.
Yeah. No, but he's exceptionally good at racquetball, and we would play, and I remember him telling me early on when I was just learning kind of how to play, is like he has really good peripheral vision, and he would have a habit of hitting the ball and not like looking, like and he was good. He could do it like 90% of the time. He would hit it and nail it and do a good job. But he said if he kept his eye on the ball like you're supposed to all the way till it hit the racket, that his power was like double or something. Wow. I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was amazing, like a humongous difference. Wow. By just keeping the eye on the ball all the way. So like it's fundamental really, but like being disciplined to do that. And so I think when we are fully engaged and keep our eye on the ball and just like don't take the fundamentals for granted. You hear this all the time in championships and stuff with teams and stuff. It's like, well, we just focus on the fundamentals. We just focus on the basics, and they won a championship or whatever. And so that's a whole nother podcast right there. Okay, so number 2. So this one I think is interesting. So continuous growth. So develop a curiosity and you'll transform routine into an adventure.
Oh, that's your typo?
Yeah,
I was wondering if it was just my eyes.
Advertiture. Yeah, so develop. That's a cool word. Advertiture.
He made it up.
Yes.
Tim.
So, I'm going to be famous.
It's a cross between adventure and architecture.
Yes. Yeah, because we like really cool sets.
Yeah, you can build the adventure.
Advertiture. Yeah. Anyway.
This is hurting my head.
So like a lot of times things can be just routine, And I don't know, adventure might be a stretch, but I think that, if you're curious, it's kind of like with people. I found this, the best way to have a conversation with somebody, like if you're doing outreach or something like that, is to actually truly be interested in them and not just acting like you are. And sometimes it's a fine line. It's hard. You have to fake it till you make it, kind of, because sometimes you're not interested because you think you have nothing in common. And so, but I have found I've been in that situation where I'll talk to somebody and I'll start asking them about, maybe where they're from or what they do or something, and they'll tell me, and I force myself to keep on asking questions and try to learn more. And then it's usually, not always, but usually I can find some thread of like, oh, that's interesting.
True interest.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so then I can engage better.
And relate. And
yeah, exactly.
And beyond that, like being genuinely interested in what you're talking about. Like if you're trying to say you're trying to get somebody to come to Sunday school, or like for us, like if we're trying to get somebody to come to youth, and if we're genuinely excited about youth that day, like we're like actually
you can tell the
invested,
difference.
you can tell it makes a world of difference when you are interested in what you're trying to get them to be interested in.
Yeah, it's like
if you're
selling
excited,
a product.
if you're excited about Sunday school, like that's gonna go over way better if you're trying to get somebody else excited about Sunday school, as opposed to if you're trying to get them to come to Sunday school
just to come
and you're not that interested.
Yeah, like I'm supposed to tell you should come to Sunday school.
I'm supposed to invite you. Yeah,
it's like the salesman
but if you're excited about it,
he walks up shaking his head. You wouldn't want to come to Sunday school, would you?
Would ya?
Yeah. Yeah, and so if you can get interested, as far as like being, having continuous growth is being interested, like you said, in Sunday school, but not just for the purpose of inviting people, but just being interested, like, okay, what is happening back there in the sound booth, or in altar service? What are the dynamics here? That's something that interests me. I go to these conferences, and some of these people like Brother Julian Estrada, who hopefully will come in August.
Yes.
And Brother Chris Bradshaw. Anyway, some of these people, they're so good at praying people through, and they teach classes on it and talk about it. And so being curious and being interested, like what are the dynamics? So today we were having altar service, and it was good. It was going good. And I was up on the platform, and it's so crowded, I couldn't like get down, but I saw a young girl towards the back from where I was on the platform. But she was towards the back, and she had her head bent, and she was crying. She's one of our church kids. And so Brother Keach was coming up to pray with somebody kind of more towards the middle, and I waved at him, got his attention. I pointed at her. And so he just saw me, and he didn't know, he couldn't see her. I was in the front. So he knelt down and started praying with her, and she prayed really good. And so seeing that, and I was interested, I wanted to see something happen. And so I was watching for it. Whereas when we just are going through the motions, it's so easy to, and I'm not expecting everybody to get on the platform or be in front of the kids, but it's so easy to stand behind them, lay a couple hands on shoulders here and there, and just kind of, let's wait for our timer to get done so we can go back to our seats. But if we're really interested, that's where the power is. That's where, because God always moves. And it's a question of, do the kids respond and do we respond?
Right.
And I think that when we as staff respond, I mean, I'm getting off on a tangent here, but I think this is important. I think that, like, imagine we have a lot of staff. We run 10 on a Sunday. And so altar is all hands on deck. So most of the time, I know sometimes, Aneisha, you're taking care of stuff, but most of the time,
just taking a nap in the bag.
That's my time, my quiet time.
Most of the time we're all out there. And so imagine the power if we are all in sync and we are, praying fervently, speaking in tongues. I mean, that's powerful.
It's like if you see a praise team is every single person's engaged.
Oh yeah.
Or like a choir, and every person is engaged.
You can feel their
so
energy, and they're
powerful to have
Yes.
a group of people who are in sync and genuinely engaged in what's going on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's even like our choir is pretty big. It's, I don't know, 50 plus people. And so I would venture to say, though, if you had the choir up there, I mean, if they were all engaged 100%, I mean, it would blow the roof off the place.
Yeah.
But even if you have a chorale, like I think Sunday mornings we have a chorale, a smaller chorale. If you had a chorale of 10, 15 people that were just all engaged, and we do sometimes, not always, but sometimes, it's powerful. It's so like, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, this reminds me, this is totally off subject. You guys were singing, I don't remember the song, it was like the last song.
Today?
Yeah, tonight. And you guys were singing, and it switched to the Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys said, like, the lead singer is singing in Spanish. And then you guys were like, yeah. And I was like, that should be C.
Was it not?
It's supposed to be.
It's supposed to be.
Oh, yeah. No, it wasn't. It was like, yeah.
Well, I think a lot of them were like, we don't know this in Spanish. Like, we've sang it.
Yeah, we've sang it 100 times.
We don't know this. I was like, oh, well. Because my dad's like,
Yeah, because we didn't have any, nobody was running the
no one had
the confidence monitor.
Yeah, and my dad's like, sing that in Spanish. I was like, okay. Have them. We don't know this in Spanish. I don't know what to do.
So that's why
why
they said yeah instead of C.
I guess. They couldn't change it.
Maybe
That's
they just
funny.
weren't fully engaged.
Guess not. You know, we've been singing for hours.
All right, so number 3,
Exhaustion.
connect tasks to purpose. So even mundane tasks can become meaningful when you connect them to a deeper purpose. And I know there's so much like in work. And then to create intentional habits, which will result in extraordinary results. When we are doing tasks, this is one of the reasons I kind of learned this a long time ago, and I drive people nuts with it sometimes. But, sometimes I think perfectionist means I want it my way. And there's a fine line between that of like having something just be really excellent, or I'm a perfectionist and it's because I want it this way.
Because
Yeah.
And no one can do it this way as good as I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and so I'm like that. I'm like,
oh. He's like, so
That's why everything I do is never good enough for him.
yeah. So, but I think that when we take these tasks that we have to do, mundane tasks, and we connect them to a purpose, if we understand like the greater purpose, and we've talked about this before, I think Brent and I talked about it, it's not necessarily that, we're doing this for these kids, and these kids are really brats today. We're doing it for God. We're doing it for the kingdom of God. And I mean, we even have the verse, as you've done to the least of these, or whatever, or
you've done it to me.
Yeah. And so, and then talking about the children coming unto him. Anyway, so we have a job to do. And so when I'm like lining up the benches and making them nice and straight, they're going to get messed up in 5 seconds. But it's because I want it to be excellent. I want it to be nice, not just be a mess,
And sometimes he just freaks out at the kids. Guys, I had him lined up. And then he makes him all go and he stomps his foot.
And then we cancel Sunday school.
Yeah, and they all go sit in the sanctuary and listen to preaching.
Yes. Oh, man. Can you imagine? That would be.
I think it'd be hilarious. I think it'd be shocking.
And the staff is just up here eating snacks.
And it's like, where'd all these kids come from?
Yeah. And there's no
Just
staff.
in the back door. And why is there no adults?
One thing I meant to mention on the continuous growth, you guys are passing notes.
Oh, my mom wants to know if you guys want anything from Dairy Queen.
Maybe we get sponsored.
Dairy Queen
DQ.
DQ, come
Shout out.
I'll wear a hat.
Next time we have Dairy Queen hats and shirts on.
Okay, we can continue.
Okay, now that we can continue. So
what are those
continue.
things called that are the ice cream?
blizzards.
Yeah, blizzards.
So continuous growth, we talked about it already, but with the continuous growth, why are we overtime, but yet we haven't been going for the full time? That's confusing to me.
Shaylee doesn't
We're
know
starting
what we're
to
talking about.
unravel.
Oh yeah, there's an iPad over there, by the way.
It has a timer on it.
Words. Tiny
So,
script.
but I wrote become a perpetual student. Perpetual student.
Where are we at?
So, well, this is back on number 2.
Oh.
But adopt a beginner's mindset regardless of your expertise. So, if you can,
I'm getting really into this.
if you
She's
can,
thinking about Dairy Queen.
yeah, she's excited now. Aneisha is fully engaged now.
Let's go to number 4. Use value.
And that's a wrap, guys.
Okay, where are we at?
So if we can approach that, like, you know, it's kind of like this. I talk about this all the time. We get used to things being a certain way, and we forget how the guest sees it. And so we can have things out of place, like say on the platform in church or in Sunday school. Things are out of place, but we're used to it. We're used to that guitar sitting over there on the floor. And
that fell over today and knocked over the trash can. My
yeah.
dad's like, we're getting rid of that guitar.
Today?
Yeah. We were literally talking
In
and he was like
backstage.
trying to fix something and the guitar just fell over and knocked the garbage over. He's like, we're getting rid of that guitar.
so,
If anybody needs a guitar.
so, but we forget how the guests see the
Yeah.
first time guests. And
That's
so
true.
if we can look at things, you know, like with those fresh eyes.
Yeah, and even like they can go both ways. Like you can look at it and be like, okay, we have stuff to improve because yeah, we're used to whatever. And then, we need to get that out of here. But at the same time, like I think that we have gotten discouraged before, or even like at Heart of Christmas, like our Christmas event, we're like, oh my word, this happened. Nobody knows.
Yeah, and
Nobody
we're
saw
just like,
that.
that was such a
Like
major
one time,
flop.
I left in the school play. I left my like head thing, my headscarf
Yeah.
out there, and it was like on the ground, and I kept seeing it, and that's all I could look at. I was like, oh my
She's like, the
goodness.
play is
I was
ruined.
like, this whole production,
the whole
is
prior production, the
ruined.
night is ruined.
But like,
Everyone hated it.
probably no one really noticed.
Probably nobody
Like,
even saw that.
Or
was on
if
there.
like we like last year, like somebody started a note late or something, like a second late.
Yeah.
Okay, but nobody knows.
Right,
Like
yeah.
you know, and I know.
And we're all
Yes.
cringing, but
They're all gasping, but they don't know. Like, so
Yeah.
you could look at it
Yeah.
both ways, as in, okay, room for improvement, yes, but also like, don't get discouraged.
Don't beat yourself up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got to tell this story. I might have told this. I think I might have told this somewhere, but I'll tell it again. So to talk about Heart of Christmas, this last year,
it's coming up.
I
yeah,
know.
this
Oh my
last
goodness.
year, Brother Joey and I are doing the final skit at the end, the sketch, and
Oh, yes,
Oh,
we
and
yeah.
talked about this.
we're live on stage, and for us, this is a pretty big event, and so we're live on stage, and I am playing the part of God in this skit, and I'm supposed to.
He cast himself as that. Just kidding.
and I'm supposed to tell him to reach into his back pocket, and he's going to he pulls out a letter that he wrote, you know, to me in college, to God in college. And so we're doing the lines coming up to that. We're just going through the skit, and he very subtle. I mean, like nobody in the audience would have seen, but very subtle. He shakes his head at me, and I knew he didn't have the letter in his back pocket. But we're live on stage, and luckily I hadn't said the line yet, which was,
Reach
so
into your
I
back
say
pocket.
how can I show you my love for you is as far as the east is from the west. How can I show you my love for you has no end. I know. Reach into your back pocket. So I say the line, I know. You remember you wrote me a letter in college, and I don't say reach in your back pocket. I'm like, why don't you tell me what that letter said?
It's at that point I would have completely blanked on everything I was supposed to
Yeah.
say. I was
Yeah.
like,
Well, and this
we
is
should end the skit right now.
this is one of the reasons when we practice this long time. We've done this a few times, but when we practiced a long time ago, I remember us talking about, because he writes it down what he says. He actually writes it on the letter, like, oh, don't have to memorize that part, but he has it memorized. He did memorize that part, And so it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because he went through, and most of the people, even in our cast, didn't know. So few people did. Your mom knew.
Your mom's like, oh,
yeah.
Plays ruined.
Yeah. But and it still had an impact, and
Not enough practice on the part of him and Joey. Note to self, fire. The main characters of the whole thing.
Okay, so this leads into point number 4, which is embracing imperfection and iteration. So like we just kind of talked about that. But just a couple things on that is value progress over perfection. It's not about being perfect. Kind of like you said, it's not. We don't have to beat ourselves up. It's not about were we perfect. We want to always try to be as perfect as possible, but we want to make progress.
And with that is like, if your goal is 100 kids and you have 50, when you get 51, that's something to be like, that's something to be glad about. It's not like, oh, you bypass this kid or this like number
Yes,
because you're not anywhere close to your goal. But that's progress. Getting another kid is getting, you have 55 and then before you know it, it's going to be at the number that you want it to be.
Exactly.
Because you're not going to get it in the snap of a finger.
Yeah. And then you can use failures, like we talk about disasters, magic or disaster. You can use failures for feedback. We talk about failure all the time on here because we fail so much.
And it's not failure if you learn from it.
Exactly. And failure, the phrase failure is not an option should not be, I mean, I guess, if you're trying to save somebody's life, but failure should always be an option. It should never, because what happens is if people are afraid to fail, then they fall short because they don't ever step out. Never step out of their comfort zone. Okay, I don't know, the timer, it doesn't show that we are way over, but I feel like we are. I'm not sure.
Really?
But let's just recap really quick. So number 1 is presence transforms performance. When you're fully present, fully engaged, it affects how you perform.
Good vibes, good energy.
Yes.
Bleeds over.
And number 2, continuous growth. Be that perpetual student. Be always looking to grow. Don't ever be satisfied with where we're at.
Wait, go back one.
Go
Also,
back, yes.
when you're involved, it's contagious. If your
Yes.
whole staff is involved, your kids are going to be involved. If your whole choir is going to be involved, the whole church is going to be involved.
Yeah.
There's a contagion that is.
Yeah, people
present
want to
with
get on
that.
board
Right.
with it, and like they see
I
you're
wanna get
doing.
excited about
Yeah.
that. Yeah. It's contagious.
Yes, that's good.
Okay. Point 3.
Point 3, connect tasks to purpose. So remember, when you are cleaning the toilet, there's a purpose.
He's speaking to you, Aneisha.
When you're vacuuming for an hour after Sunday school,
Yes.
like you said, there's purpose.
There's purpose behind it.
You can play this podcast.
Yeah, just play it over
There's
and over.
purpose.
You can do
With some theme music. And then number 4, embracing imperfection, and then just reiterate. Just do it again. Okay, Shaylee, can you read off the podcasts on the bottom?
The what?
The podcast.
She can't see
What?
see all that blue?
Hey, here's what's funny.
Oh, I see a
is
blob
I was
of
just
blue.
about to ask you what color it is because I'm colorblind and Shaylee's just plain blind. So I was going to tell her the blue part.
It says end.
And then
YouTube, Kidman Backstage, or at Gabe-Baker.
yeah. So if you want to watch the video of the podcast,
Oh,
and
boy.
see if you want to see Aneisha and Shaylee,
Hey
then
guys.
You look
go
worse
to
than we sound.
at Gabe-Baker.
Just joking.
And then some podcasts, suggested podcasts. I'm going to go from the bottom up. So we have Brother James Pelletier has 2 podcasts.
Wow.
Oh my
Go Brother
goodness.
Pelletier.
I think that
Yeah.
we should also have 2, and one can just be a little offshoot of just me and Aneisha.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well,
I
this
think
is the
it'd be
thing,
hilarious,
guys.
and we can talk about all
he
kinds of
doesn't start
things.
the cameras and stuff early enough because it's funny when we get up here.
Yeah, I
So
do need to start
we can
it
have
earlier.
a whole section of
We need to have a
just-
long,
Of
long
intros.
pre-roll.
Intros.
Just
we-
intros.
we be
One
yapping.
podcast. It's like a YouTube channel of intros.
That'd be really funny.
So Brother James Pelletier has Sunday School Junkie, and then he has another one that's not Kidman related, but not directly Kidman related, but it's called Truism. Very good. And then Brother Eric Stender has Sunday School Minute. It's a shorter podcast. It's really
1
good.
minute long.
Yeah, no, I think they're like 7 minutes or something. But
Oh, wow.
and then Brother Jason Ashley, Growing Up with Papaw. It's not Paw Paw. It's Papaw or something like that.
What you said, or something like that.
Or something like that. And then Brother Chris Bradshaw, Apostolic Children's Network, him and his wife, Samantha Bradshaw. And then we have Apostolic Children's Ministry 2.0 with our good friend, Brother Philip Booker, who is coming here in August. So those are some podcasts to check out. And then, of course, Kidman Backstage.
Of course.
You guys got anything to add?
No, the chicken is calling my name.
The chicken is calling your name. All right. Well, that's a
Thank you
wrap.
for having us
Thank you for having us.
once again.
Once again.
I'm
Thanks for
sure
coming.
we'll be back.
I don't know. This might be my last. Yay! Take that out.